Huh? Oh.
Right now.
Doesn't bother you.
On what?
Doesn't bother you when you watch TV. Bother you. Okay, here we go.
Hey.
Yes, you can mute the line. Yeah.
Tina, I'm not that good at moving it. So can I just let it go?
George Dempsey, I know.
Came up Tabitha Anvil.
Okay.
They came up Tabitha Anvil. Because of this group of
It should start.
taking off my shoes.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sister Donna Corba, and I'm a board member of the Pennsylvania Interfaith Power and Light. And on behalf of all of us at PA IPL, I welcome you to this evening's spiritual care gathering. This is the first in a series of 4 for this new year of 2022. I'd like to thank co-board member and friend George Dempsey, who helped craft this gathering, this prayerful gathering together. and our outreach director, Kathy Habrowski, who is working the tech and does all the behind the scenes work for us. So I'd like to thank the two of them. And before we actually begin formally, I'd like just to take a moment as we reflect, we share, and hopefully we go forth with a little more energy and a little more hope for our world.
No, I just want to see who's speaking.
And so as we gather,
Donna Coden.
I would like to invite George Dempsey to explain the process of our gathering this evening.
Good evening, everybody. If you could all please mute yourself so that you'll be able to hear the music clearly when we get to those parts, that would be helpful. Thank you. Good evening. Our 4-part Zoom series this year
We muted.
is grounded in the work of Joanna Macy, who has developed ways to approach the overwhelming circumstances of a global nature, not by solving them or bypassing them, but by thoughtful, intentional, spiritual, and political engagement. Macy explains that we're living in the time of the great turning, when our choices, actions, and attitudes are essential to create and sustain a right relationship with the planet. This next slide shows what Joanna developed. It's called the spiral. She developed it as an open invitation to a spiritual practice in hard times or overwhelming circumstances. Our thoughts and activities in each session of this series will be centered around these 4 themes of the spiral, which are gratitude, honoring our pain for the world, seeing in new ways, and then going forth. When we explore the spiral, it's best done in a group, in a community as we are tonight. And a little later here, when we have our breakout sessions, we ask that everyone honor the working agreement shown here as we delve into the spiral together. And the working agreement are things like speaking for yourself. We want you to speak up and bring your presence and participation. Our stories are our own, so we want to ask before sharing anything once we leave here, offering to anyone outside the group. And the most important thing is that we hear one another and experience being heard, and we consider ourselves a community of practice.
So the title of our series is Walking Through Life with Active Hope. And our first session, the subtitle is The Cry of the Earth. And so I'd like to do a short reading from Pope Francis in his encyclical, which calls all of us to consider Earth our home, Laudato Si. Praise be to you, my Lord. In the words of this beautiful canticle, St. Francis of Assisi reminds us that our common home is like a sister with whom we share our life, and a beautiful mother who opens her arms to embrace us. Praised be to you, my Lord, through our sister, Mother Earth, who sustains and governs us, and who produces various fruits with colored flowers and herbs. This sister now cries out to us because of the harm we have inflicted on her by our irresponsible use and abuse of the goods with which God has endowed her. We have come to see ourselves as her lords and masters, entitled to plunder her at will. The violence present in our hearts, wounded by sin, is also reflected in the symptoms of sickness, evident in the soil, in the water, in the air, and in all forms of life. This is why Earth herself, burdened and laid waste, is the most abandoned and maltreated of our poor, and she groans in travail. We have forgotten that we ourselves are dust of the earth, and our very bodies are made up of her elements. We breathe her air, and we receive life and refreshment from her waters. Today, we have to realize that a true ecological approach always becomes a social approach. It must integrate questions of justice in debates on the environment, so as to hear both the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor. For by listening to the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor, we are listening to the voice of God.
The first part of the spiral is grounding ourselves in gratitude. If we are to face the dire circumstances of our time or of our own personal lives, both the facts and the emotions, we'll be able to do so more resiliently if we start by grounding ourselves in gratitude. We do this with intention. Gratitude is not an innate talent, but a skill that can be learned and grown. Gratitude is not dependent on external circumstances. Connecting with a sense of gratitude, while available to all, must also be practiced in order to be available. Fear, anxiety, and a sense of scarcity, so abundant in this time of the coronavirus, can make it more difficult to access, but it's not impossible to access gratitude. Practicing gratitude allows a kind of spiritual gratitude muscle to grow and to strengthen. We'd like to share some quotes for us to ponder tonight about gratitude. The second part of the spiral is honoring our pain. If we were to stop at the first point at the spiral, we might feel good, but not for long and not as deeply as possible. Joanna Macy tells us that to be able to move and shift out of stuck places, both emotionally and intellectually, we must do the hard work of facing complex, difficult emotions. We must honor our pain by naming it, even feeling it. It is in doing so that we are a part of creating liberation from it, dissipating the power of pain to contort our behaviors into ugly or harmful shapes. In this culture, we do avoidance of pain really, really well. This second part of the spiral does not come easy, but it's crucial. Finding and creating both safe and brave space to be able to give shape and name to your pain, especially when this is done in community, allows transformation to take place. We're a part of a great collective existence that holds pain, but also holds other possibilities. And now, let's listen to what Joanna Macy has to say about honoring our pain in this video clip entitled Befriending Your Despair.
There's a colossal anguish. Everything from oil spills to nuclear waste. And it's not an individual matter. But we, as a planet people, are sick in our soul. We have pathologized pain. We have made it a wrong thing. We have made it like a mistake, rather than acknowledging that we need pain to alert us for what needs attention. And we have been treating it as some kind of enemy to our cheerfulness. I began in this as I was exploring how personally to befriend this pain, because I knew it was speaking some truth, as is indeed in Buddhism the first noble truth. The first noble truth that the Lord Buddha taught is dukkha, suffering. There is suffering. And if you want to get anywhere, honey, if you want to grow up, if you want to open to life, if you want to be enlightened, however you describe the state you're after, then you have to face that and see there is suffering. There were lines from my childhood in the church, the Christian church, blessed are they that mourn. And that would come up and sound. And so what happens for people as they get real about their true feelings, when they tell the truth about what they see happening to our world, something so beautiful and so freeing happens. It's a jewel. It's like something Tiffany would like to recreate. But oh, so lovely. Like us. I mean, like us, just like dew on the grass. Pain opens the heart and the eyes so you can see the beauty. So much grief. But the thing is, it's carried by just about everybody. It's a great, like public secret that people go on with this ache inside them for what's happening to our world. And they think they're alone in it. You don't speak it. This allows the world to become more vivid. It's like that poem of Mary Oliver where she says, "You tell me your despair and I'll tell you mine." And this allows the world to become more vivid, seeing the wild geese, seeing this incredible planet that we're in with all the life that's around us. Because we had the courage, the strength to speak of our despair. But precisely because we speak it, we don't stay there. Because that despair is the covering of our love for our world, and we crack it open by speaking it so the love can be felt. So the key is in not being afraid of our pain for the world, not being afraid of the world's suffering. And if you're not afraid of it, then nothing can stop you.
And now we would like to do a guided meditation called Breathing Through. This practice helps prevent burnout. It reminds us that both our pain and our power arise from our interconnectedness and offers a healing measure of humility. For when we accept our world's pain as the price of our caring, it naturally flows into action without drama or self-righteousness. So if you'd like to take a moment to get in a comfortable position, if you would like to turn off your video and mute yourself, we'll begin. Closing your eyes, focus attention on your breathing. Don't try to breathe any special way, slow or long. Just watch the breathing as it happens, in and out. Note the accompanying sensations at the nostrils or upper lip, in the chest or abdomen. Stay passive and alert. As you watch the breath, note that it happens by itself, without your will, without your deciding each time to inhale or exhale. It's as though you're being breathed by life. Just as everyone in this space, in this city, in this planet now, is being breathed by life, sustained in a vast, living, breathing web. Now visualize your breath as a stream or ribbon of air. See it flow up through your nose, down through your windpipe, and into your lungs. Now from your lungs, take it through your heart. Picture it flowing through your heart and out to reconnect with the larger web of life. Let the breath stream as it passes through you and through your heart appear as one loop within that vast web, connecting you with it. Now open your awareness to the suffering that is present in the world. Drop for now all defenses and open to your knowledge of that suffering. Let it come as concretely as you can. Images of your fellow human beings in pain and need, in fear and isolation, in prisons, hospitals, tenements, refugee camps, no need to strain for these images. They're present to you by virtue of our interbeing. Relax and just let them surface. The vast and countless hardships of our fellow humans and of our animal brothers and sisters as well, as they swim the seas and fly the air of this planet. Now breathe in the pain like granules on the stream of air, up through your nose, down through your trachea, lungs, and heart, and out again into the world net. You are asked to do nothing for now, but let it pass through your heart. Be sure that stream flows through and out again. Don't hang on to the pain. Surrender it for now to the healing resources of life's vast web. With Shantideva, the Buddhist saint, we can say, "Let all sorrows ripen in me." We help them ripen by passing them through our hearts. Making good, rich compost out of all that grief. So we can learn from it, enhancing our larger collective knowing. If no images or feelings arise, and there is only blankness, gray and numb, breathe that through also. The numbness itself is a very real part of our world. And if what surfaces is not the pain of other beings, so much as your own personal suffering, breathe that through too. Your own anguish is an integral part of the grief of our world and arises with it. Should you feel an ache in your chest, a pressure in the rib cage, as if the heart would break, that is all right. Your heart is not an object that can break, but if it were, they say the heart that breaks open can hold the whole universe. Your heart is that large. Trust it. Keep breathing. And now, if you'd like to come back to this time and place, we'll move on. The third part of the spiral is seeing with new eyes. In other words, seeing in new ways. If we equip ourselves with the protection of gratitude, and if we've journeyed into the land of honoring our pain, what we just might find on the other side is a new way of beholding our circumstance, new ways that generate healing and move us away from harm of ourselves or others. Leaning into our connection with others, we can consider new perspectives, help us see in new ways, help us entertain what may well be impossible, but may shed light on other actual possibilities.
And now we'd like to take a few moments to break out into smaller groups and to share the following question with each other in the smaller group. How does a sense of gratitude, of holding the pain of the world, and of seeing with new eyes enlighten you to go forward? How does a sense of gratitude, of holding the pain of the world and seeing with new eyes enlighten you as you go forward? So Kathy will break us randomly into smaller groups, and we'll have about 10 to 12 minutes just to share with each other some wisdom, and then we'll come back into the larger group.
recorded.
Okay, we're gonna ask everyone if you would just put yourselves on mute unless you're would like to share something. But we're going to take the next few minutes to share some of the wisdom, either that we've shared or that we've heard in our small groups. What wise people we have here. And we'd like, if anyone would like to share some of your own wisdom or something you heard in your group or whatever, just a few minutes. If you'd like to, if you can either raise your hand or you can raise your hand on the reaction button on the bottom of your Zoom. I see Bill first. So Bill Cousins, why don't you go first?
Thank you very much, Donna. Several people in our group shared especially the pain they were feeling with the suffering that they're aware that is going on in the world as a result of climate change and our abuse of the earth. Brian Dugas, the last in our group who spoke, has just returned from Africa and seen the results of drought in Tanzania. I talked some about what I see in the paper about flooding in Bangladesh or landslides in Brazil as a result of extreme flooding. So, and the suffering of different types of other species that we're aware of. So it was an awareness of what has been happening to the earth and the fact the new eyes are really an awareness of what we need to do to address it now, or the desire to address it. I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you, Bill. Pat Libby?
Several people in my group were saying that when we're so overwhelmed with the grief we try to help people with, the environmental issues that we hear, physical difficulties, if we can just get outside and experience nature, the beauty of what is around us, that it can be just very, very comforting, and gratitude for our Maker who provides it all for us.
Thank you, Pat. Evelyn?
So I was in that group as well. And I think one of the other things that several people talked about is addressing this issue of environmental concern and talking about science and facts and coming from our mind, that really, if we can come from our heart, that's really the way to speak to people. So it's not necessarily new eyes, but maybe using that new approach and touching people's hearts.
Thank you, Evelyn. Anyone else? I'm not seeing any more hands. So if you have your hand raised and I'm not seeing you and you'd like to speak, just unmute yourself.
Donna, Tim has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Tim, I just have
Hello.
to put you. Okay. There you go. Tim.
I think one of the things that really struck me about the combination of gratitude, pain, and seeing with new eyes was family and just the whole general nature of how we take good feelings, the gratitude, the pain, the struggle, dealing in life, and it transforms, it works together to transform us with a new vision. And that's I talked about that within the context of my family, my children and my grandchildren. I think we can hopefully pull the same type of context together, multiple contexts together in our dealing with climate change. And I think that we can pull the joys of spring together with the despair of seeing winter being warmer than it should be, and find in that a context in which we can work together and be together. We can connect. And I think one of the things that strikes me most strongly about that is that in our present ruling of this world, it's men that's doing the ruling for the most part. And they're very competitive. They fight. But women, as far as I'm able to tell, and from the research that I've read about, women tend to be collaborative. They tend to work together, and they care and embrace. So I'm sort of working on a project of leading the world as far as I can into women doing the leading. So family, women, gratitude, pain, and new context that you see with new eyes. It all works together.
Tim, thank you for that beautiful reflection.
Thank you for letting me do it.
Anybody else?
Thank you. I appreciate that concept also. I'm Maureen from Nebraska, and collegial, collaborative rather than fighting. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. So we hold that wisdom in our hearts, the sacred space that we shared in small groups, and the sacred space of those who shared in our larger wisdom group. And I invite George to move us in going forward.
The fourth and last part of the spiral is called going forward. With the first 3 points of the spiral, we are cultivating resilience, building stamina, and growing emotional and spiritual intelligence. The fourth point on the spiral is where we take what we've integrated as individuals and as a group practicing together, and we apply it to our lives, to our communities, and to society. The hope is that in going forth, you've been strengthened so that you can be of service to what Joanna calls the great turning, that you might now embody the courage and creativity that's required of all of us in this time of crisis, in this time of opportunity. Enjoy these photographs as we go forth that highlight the beauty of our state.
And so as we move around the spiral and we come to the going forth part, we'd like you to mute your mics, please. And we'd like to play this song by Lawrence Cole, Come Into Your Calling. It's really a call for the ministry that most of us are in, whether as a vocation or as an avocation, but the ministry of living life and bringing life back to our earth. And so if you'd like to sing along, it's kind of a catchy tune. I'd ask you to mute yourselves so that we're not all mumbled, but sing your hearts out and dance as we celebrate as we go forth.
Oh, when we come into our calling, we become bells calling to everyone else. Oh, come into your calling. Oh, when we come into our calling, we become bells calling to everyone else. Oh, come into your calling. Oh, when we come into our calling, we become bells calling to everyone else. Oh, come into your calling. Oh, when we come into your calling, we become bells calling to everyone else. Oh, come into your calling. When we come into your calling, we become bells calling to everyone else. Oh, come into your calling. Oh, when we come into your calling, we become bells calling to everyone else. Oh, come into your calling. Oh, come into your calling. Oh, come into your calling.
So on behalf of all of us at the Pennsylvania Interfaith Power and Light, we'd like to thank you for joining us this evening. As George mentioned before, this is the first of a series of 4 Walking Through Life with Active Hope spiritual gatherings. So we will let you know probably in the next 3 months. We'll have the second one. I would like to mention, though, that May 1st begins the Pennsylvania Interfaith Power and Light Climate and Advocacy Bike Ride. And so if you'd like information on that, if you'd like to ride or walk or in any way sponsor, Kathy, who is our wonderful outreach person and tech person tonight, you can reach her at outreach@paipl.org. outreach@paipl.org, and should give you some more information. And so once again, we thank you for joining us, and many blessings upon everyone. Thank you for all the good work that you're doing and the good people that you are.